Stay tuned and I'll show you how to make a pivoting arm pop-up card. Hey there squares! Thanks for watching Square Type, the channel showcasing easy to follow pop-up card tutorials and demo videos. This is my hole punch. Just wanted to make sure you knew what this was. And I also have a blade instead of that flat blade I was using before. This is an X-Acto knife. I really like it. Okay, so to make a pivot point, you need to use a hub. So I'm going to give you a refresher on making a hub. You start off with a hole, right? A hole in your card, a hole in wherever your pivot point's going to be, and then you make a hub. So you just trace that same size circle onto another piece of cardstock, and then you cut 2 parallel cuts on opposite sides of that circle, and then you bring the flaps up and you trim the H on the back. Then you pass those flaps through the hole and you have that pivot point, and it's using that hub. Okay, so an alternative to using a hub for a pivot point is actually just punching a hole and using a brad or an office fastener, you know, that you have for your papers. So see how it turns just like the hub? It works just as well, so you can use that in a pinch. If you don't like making those hubs, use a fastener or a brad. Okay, so on to the pivoting arm. You take 2 strips of paper, you punch a hole through both of those strips, and then you make 2 hubs. You pass one hub through both holes, just pass the 2 flaps through both holes, and now it's pivoting. So that's the first pivot point, and you need a second pivot point. So just put your finger where you want that pivot point on the arm, where you want it to actually twist on the card. So just kind of figure out where it's going to stay in the card while it's closing and opening. And I want mine there, so then poke a hole through the arm and through the card. That way you know where to punch your hole on the arm, and then also where to punch your hole on the card. My hole punch is too short, so I have to actually cut the hole out of the card instead of just simply punching it. So it's not that hard. Just make sure that you cut that hole as smooth as you can. Okay, so then you pass the second hub, the flaps of the second hub, through that second set of holes. Okay, through the arm and through the card. Flaps come out the back and just open them up, and there it is. There's your pivoting arm. All you have to do now is make a guide slot. So the way you do that is just mark the top and bottom of that, where you want that pull tab to be located, and then cut out a thumb notch so you can grip that pull tab. Cut out that slot and then make the flap come up. Let me bring it up here. See how it's brought up like that? Now you can pass that pull tab through that slot, that guide slot, and now it stays right where it's supposed to be. See how it's swinging up on top? That's the pivoting arm. So this is how I made the pivoting card with my octopus. So my octopus arm is actually just sitting inside of one layer of these ocean waves. The octopus body is on the back, and then I've got some arms in the front, and then I've got the pivoting arm in the middle. So I'll show you that a little bit later, but I want it to kind of look like this, where I have that arm swinging back and forth like that. Okay, so I'm going to try to make this as easy as I can. So I like the position of these arms, so I'm just going to go ahead and just glue them exactly where they are. Just putting glue on top of them, and then placing the waves, the top waves on top of that. And I'm going to set that aside and let that dry. And then I've got a layer by itself of waves, just setting that aside. So here, it's going to look like that. So here I've got it where I want it to pivot. And I already punched a hole in that tentacle, so there's my circle. I've got my 2 strips of paper, punch a hole through them, And then I'm going to make 2 hubs. The first hub I'm going to pass through these 2 holes. And then I've got my swinging arm. Now I'm just going to try to figure out where on the arm I'm going to put that hole. So I've already got the hole on the card, or the circle on the card. I'm just trying to see if this is really where I want it on the arm. It's going to swing the way I want it to. Does the arm fit in the card? That's good, so I'm just going to mark it there. And then I'm going to punch out my holes. So punch it out there, and then punch it out on the layer of waves. There it is. So I just passed that hub through both holes. That's pretty easy, right? This is one of the easiest mechanisms, and yet it has a really wonderful look to it. It has a nice action. And then just, I'm trimming the flaps just because I thought they were too long, but that's totally up to you, you know, whatever works for you. I've decided that my tentacle was ugly, so I switched it to another, like, tentacle. And I like this one because it's a lot more pointy. So I'm just going to place it onto my arm, and I'm going to trim it so that it hides nicely behind the tentacle. And that way I can glue the tentacle onto the arm without hindering the hub. I'm not gluing it to the hub, I'm just gluing it to the arm. And it's swinging back and forth just fine. So now I can just mark the guide slot on the pull tab and also the thumb notch over there, and just cutting that out. And now I can just pass that pull tab through the guide slot. And the whole mechanism is really on this one layer of the ocean waves. And so that's pretty simple, right? So the rest of it just gets glued on. And I want to make sure, because the tentacles are really spindly, so I want to make sure that the tentacles don't get tied up with each other. So the body of the octopus is going to be flat on the card itself, and then the first layer of waves, I'm just going to glue it flat onto the card too, right on top of the octopus. The next layer actually has the mechanism, so I'm just going to take some fun foam, or you can take foam tape, and I'm just going to glue the fun foam to the back of this layer with the pivoting arm, and use it as a spacer. I'm also going to use the fun foam on the front of the same layer. That way the pivoting arm action is sure to be free of being entangled with the other tentacles. And I'm just using a glue stick. You can certainly use a stronger type of glue, or again, you can use any kind of spacer or foam tape that works best for you. This works just fine for me. So here I'm putting the fun foam on top of that same layer, just so you can see it. And then of course the last layer is that first one that I made with the 3 tentacles. I'm going to push the pull tab all the way in before trimming the overhang, and that way it's nice and flush with the card. And the rest is really embellishment, drawings and words, whatever you like. This is actually a card that I made because it was an answer to a viewer's request. They wanted to make a pop-up card that had an octopus tentacle that was beating a drum or something like that. So I think that this is the mechanism that they were asking for. Let me know if there's a mechanism that you're interested in doing. Maybe I know how to do it, and if I do, I'll show you. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to this channel and hit that little bell so you can get a notification every time I post something new. I'm trying to come back and post a lot more again. And share this channel with your friends. Share the videos with your friends so that they can make some pop-ups of their own. Maybe they can make you something. And just let me know if you liked or disliked this video. Let me know what parts you liked, or and what pop-ups you like. Thanks for watching. This is Square Tight. Bye!